Welcome to episode 8 of season 2 of Back to the Futures, the official podcast of the Futures Collegiate Baseball League, presented by Changeup. I'm Matt Satilli. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Owen Shadrick. Owen, it's great to see you today. Some frigid temperatures, but another interview that'll hopefully get summer and some warmer weather in baseball on all the listeners' hearts. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Matt. Yeah, this was a great interview. Alex, Dion, the manager of the Worcester Bravehearts, joined us, and really excited for you guys to hear this one.
Alex Dion, our 5th manager that we've had on. So we've had on Ray Garino, Kyle Jackson, Andy Terrio, and Matt Gedman. And now our good friend Alex Dion, who he had a lot of great things to say. And Owen, in terms of the Futures League this summer, we have an official date for opening day. We have a ticker on the website. We're about 115 days out. Wednesday, May 26th is the big day. Can't wait. I'm already counting down to it.
It can't come soon enough, Matt, but May 26th is going to be a great day and should be another great summer in the FCBL.
We already have our calendars marked. Should be another awesome season as we gear up for our 11th edition of the FCBL. But for now, here is our interview, a great one. Sit back and enjoy it with Worcester Bravehearts manager Alex Dion. At this time, we now welcome on a very special guest. In 2019, he managed the Worcester Bravehearts to the Futures League Championship. It is Alex Dion, the manager of the Worcester Bravehearts. Alex, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm good.
Always good to hear. So let's get right into it. It's a question we've been asking a lot of our guests this season. What did it mean to you, and what did it mean to your players to get a chance to play baseball this summer?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the question I heard the most throughout the summer last year. It was obviously really special and took a lot of work just for us to be able to play last summer between the owners and Joe and, everyone who just put in countless hours getting ready for the season. I know for me personally, it was something that I was really hopeful for throughout the spring. I'm also a high school teacher, so it's been almost a year now since we kind of first left school, and it was the week before high school baseball was supposed to begin. So, that was sort of up in the air for a month and a half, and then, finally gets canceled. So, my focus sort of shifted strictly to the Futures League at that point, and talked pretty much daily with Dave Peterson, our general manager. And just, the further and further we got, the closer we got to July, and then it became kind of clear that we were going to play. It was just really awesome. And it was great to get back out onto the field. And I know for our players, guys who had seasons cut short or weren't able to compete at all during the spring, for them to get out there and compete, and then obviously have a little bit of success, was really special.
Yeah, and you just touched on that success. Not only did you get the chance to play the summer, but you also reached the championship. You faced off against Nashville, ultimately losing. What were your biggest takeaways from the season?
Each day, our owner, John Creedon, talked about each day being a blessing, and being able to go out there and compete was special, regardless of the outcome. But I think when you coach in Worcester, when you play in Worcester, the expectations are what they are, and the bar is set pretty high. So, once we got the green light and knew we were playing, the goal obviously is to compete for a championship. So, face similar adversities or the same adversities that every team in the league faced, and, had to kind of roll with the punches throughout the summer. But, the players that I was fortunate enough to manage last year did an excellent job just showing up every day. And, we didn't have the same, it wasn't the same as years past. We weren't playing at Holy Cross, we were playing at a new home. We weren't playing in front of 2,500 people every night. It certainly would have been easy to, I think, find excuses or, whatever you want to call them, to not be competitive every single night. And our guys didn't do that. So just their will to compete and the passion that they showed throughout the summer to put us in a position to play in the last game of the season was really special.
So as a manager, did you have to make any adjustments given the new field size at Doyle? I mean, you said every team had to face adversity, but I'm sure it was a little bit of an added challenge. Granted, it was for you and the road team, but any player reactions about having to manage the Doyle dimensions and strategy that you adjusted?
I mean, I personally no. Like we went out and competed, to the best of our ability every day, and like I didn't. It's not something that we addressed as a team. Our players certainly talked about it and had fun with it during BP on certain days. But if you watched any of the games, I thought we actually played pretty well at home, and our pitchers didn't go and change the way that they were going to attack hitters just because of the dimensions of the field. And I thought, for the most part, offensively, our hitters did a good job staying within themselves and not letting that left field fence, change the way that they were going to go out and swing the bats. And, the few home run derbies we had at home with, and having a guy like Ben Rice on the team to win those games, which ended up being really important wins for us. The balls that he was hitting during those home run derbies are going out of any ballpark. So it's not like, we certainly had a few Doyle bombs in there, but I don't think our guys really changed their approach as far as their day-to-day routines or how they were going to compete.
Sure. So, we'll move towards the specifics in a little bit here, but just kind of bringing in big picture for the next couple questions. The Bravehearts have been one of the most successful programs in the Futures League, both in attendance, in wins and losses, and just establishing a winning mentality. What do you attribute to that success, and how did you see that when you joined the team in 2019?
Yeah, the leadership from the top down. It starts with the Creedon family, and John Sr., John Jr., and Julie in their families and the way that they go about their business every single day, and the professionalism and work ethic that they just live and breathe every single day. And that trickles down to our general manager, Dave Peterson, who, we've developed an awesome relationship over the last 3.5 years. And then I try to do, my best on the baseball side of things. And it's my job to get our players to buy into that. And, we don't have a lot of team rules, but, respect and work ethic are two of the biggest things that we harp on throughout the summer. And it starts with the Creedons. So, their expectations for themselves and for their employees are set really high. And, Dave has those same expectations for himself and for our, the organization. And I try to just kind of live up to that standard each day and preach that to our players and sort of let them have the freedom to go out and compete. And, I think one thing that we have done a really good job of over the years, and I think as you start to kind of have some success year after year, college coaches certainly want to send their guys to an organization that, that's going to win and that's going to compete. And especially their younger players are going to have an opportunity to, be a part of a team that potentially goes to a championship and experiences that type of a playoff run. So we've been fortunate to get some pretty good players over the years. And, we're not going to win many baseball games if we don't have talented guys. So I think the more success that we have year after year and our ability to continue to get quality players in here, will, hopefully continue to pay off for us.
Sure. So when did you initially get in contact with them? How did that go about? And what made you initially decide to join the club and start managing at the summer league level?
So I was 2017. I was still coaching Legion baseball in Northborough. I've worked at Milford High School for almost 10 years now, and sort of through working at the high school, Rich Pierre-Gustavo, who's our assistant principal now, who initially hired me there, who's the Milford Legion baseball coach for 15 years. He introduced me to JP Pine, who was the former manager of the Worcester Bravehearts. We sort of started to talk in 2017. I went up to Clark University when JP was the head coach there for one of his early spring games. And, we just kind of talked pregame and went back and forth through text throughout the summer. And I think we talked about like me possibly coming and helping out after the Legion season was done. That never ended up happening. But after that summer, JP had reached out to me and kind of to gauge my interest on joining his staff as his hitting coach. I was certainly interested. I was ready to kind of make that move. I had coached high school baseball. I just got hired as the head coach at Milford. I had been in Legion baseball for a number of years. I coached for Team Mizuno in the summer and in a showcase league for 2 summers. And, this seemed like the next kind of logical step and, where I wanted to go in my career. And I loved JP. We have a great relationship to this day. So, the idea of getting to work for him, for what I thought would have been a number of years, to come was just really exciting to me. So got hired that spring in 2018 as JP's hitting coach, managed or coached under him in 2019 for that summer. We ended up splitting the championship with Martha's Vineyard. And then JP gets the job at Amherst, and the managerial position opens with the Bravehearts. I obviously was super interested. And then just, fortunate enough to have the credence and Dave Peterson trust me to take on that opportunity.
What is your relationship like with JP? And if you can just offer the biggest thing you learned from him that he passed down to you, you try to taking at least, some knowledge of the Bravehearts or just coaching knowledge in general.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I had mentioned, I, worked in high school baseball, coached Legion, coached some showcase ball. Had never really been exposed to the college game. So that was 2019 was a huge learning experience for me. And, something I still talk to JP to this day about the things that I was able to learn from him as far as, managing players and managing different personalities and knowing when to push guys and when to kind of step back a little bit. And, it's a tough schedule. I mean, you're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time with kids from different parts of the country, different schools, Division I, II, and III, guys who haven't been to college yet. So you're really trying to, build relationships with these guys, get them to trust you in a really short amount of time. So being able to kind of be in the dugout with JP for a whole summer and see the way that he went about his business each day and just being consistent and being yourself, I think are probably the two most important things. And JP's obviously a big personality, and the guys who played for him loved him. And, again, I was really lucky to be able to spend that summer with him. And then, that working relationship has turned into a really great friendship now. And, he's still a guy that I call and, ask advice or just talk about whatever. So really fortunate to be able to spend that summer with him.
Yeah, 100%. JP Pine, big part of the Bravehearts organization for sure. So going back onto the field, we talked earlier about losing in the championship last year, but you also won the championship in 2019, sweeping the Bristol Blues 2-0. What was it like being both on the winning side of the championship and the losing side?
Yeah, the winning side's obviously a lot better. But there's so much that goes into it, and each manager, each team has to deal with the same kind of obstacles throughout the summer, and we're all chasing one goal. So there's only going to be one team that comes out on top at the end. And, we've been fortunate to put ourselves in a position to win all 3 summers that I've been able to spend with the organization. 2019, winning that in my first years as manager was awesome. Just being able to spend that day with our guys. And, we had a decent number of returning players in 2019. So, the bonds and the relationships that I was able to form with those guys going from hitting coach in 2018 to their manager in 2019. I felt like we just had a really special group of players that were just fun to be around every day. And, winning that in my first year as a manager is something that I won't forget. And then, you fast forward to last summer and sort of the unknown and all the roster changes that happened in the weeks leading up to the season. We ended up having a bunch of guys on our team last time were 3-year guys for me, or at least 2-year guys. So, again, super familiar with the group, and, things didn't always go our way. We struggled offensively for most of the summer, but we found ways to compete. We found ways to win games. It was sort of different each night, which made it really fun. And then, you got to tip your cap to Nashville. They, to lose game 1 and then come back and do what they did. And, the way Kyle used his bullpen in game 3, I thought that they played better than us on that night. But I was really, really proud of our guys and the way they competed for the whole summer. And, to be in a position to win, you take a couple pitches in the first inning of game 2 and game 3, and, things are different, but that's baseball. And, Nashville deserved to win, and I was happy for them. And, but I was proud of our guys too.
Yeah, certainly 2 exciting championships for the last 2 years. And you just touched on it. Worcester and the Bravehearts seem to be the kings of returning players. How does that help with chemistry in the clubhouse?
I mean, it certainly helps, and just speed up the process a little bit, I guess. When I get these guys, this year it's going to be right before Memorial Day, and we'll meet as a group, but that group changes over especially the first few weeks of the season as guys, end their spring seasons and get to Worcester. We might not have our full roster for 2 weeks or so. So having guys who have played for me in the past, whether it's for one summer or 2 summers, like this past year that we had, it's just as far as getting my philosophy through to the guys and what the expectations are and how we go about our work every single day, whether it's, showing up to the field, BP, how things are set up, or if it's a travel day, how that's going to look. It just takes a lot of pressure off me and the coaching staff to kind of teach the new guys the way we do things. So yeah, it's huge to have guys coming back each summer. This year is going to look a lot different, with the number of guys that we brought back last year that were with us for 2 or 3 years. Like we have huge turnover this summer, and we're going to have like 30 new faces on our roster, which hasn't happened in years past. So, the small number of guys that are returning, for this summer in 2021, it's going to be a lot on them, or I'm going to expect a lot from them to kind of get all the new guys up to speed as quickly as possible.
What can you tell us in previewing the roster for additions that you've made, whether it be Dave, whether it be yourself, a couple names that you're excited for, or a couple returning guys you're happy to have back?
Yeah. Couple returning arms that we have that I'm excited about are Alex Amalfi, Carson Hoban, and Chris Radovic, guys that were, on the team last summer, and I think are quality arms. A guy like Carson Hoban that can, probably be one of our top 2 starters this summer that has experience in the league. Pitched in big spots for us. He threw in the championship series last year. So we'll expect a lot out of those three arms. Couple returning position players that we have: Andrew Salima, Zach DiMatteo, who we kind of picked up halfway through last year. But both guys that have some legit power, and Andrew will play first base for us. Zach will probably be our starting catcher, and both local guys, so it's good to have them. Then just a whole lot of new names from kind of all over the place. But I think the guys that we've added this summer, especially the arms, will be a breath of fresh air. It's a new group. It'll be motivating for me to kind of meet these new guys and sort of again try to go out and compete for a championship.
Yeah, speaking of managing a rotation, you've had a pretty good rotation to manage the last couple of years with guys like Sean Babineau, Angelo Baez, Eric Chavarria, and Cole Chidoba, who really exploded on the scene last year. What was it like managing those guys?
Yeah, those guys were awesome. And I mean, my pitching coach, Tyler Kelly, who's been with me for the past 2 years, he does a great job just communicating with those guys and making sure that they're ready for their starts. But, guys like Baez and Babs and Chav and Doba, there's not a whole lot that I need to do to get them ready to go out and pitch. I'd be lying if I said I had anything to do with it. Those guys are mature and they take what they do seriously. And I would say the best thing about that group of guys, being together for 2 years and going out and competing, is that they all just fed off each other. And if you asked any of them, what contributed the most to their success, they would probably say it was each other, and the conversations that they had down in the bullpen and how they went about their pregame routine. And, if Baez went out and had a good start, Babs wanted to go out the next day and have a good start, and Chav wanted to follow, and Doba wanted to do the same thing. So, knowing that I could kind of roll those guys out there in order each week, gave me a pretty good feeling about our chances to win. And, I touched on the fact that offensively, we were hit or miss this past summer. We got, clutch hits when we needed them, and guys stepped up in big situations. But, I don't remember exactly what the numbers are, but they weren't great. And our starting pitchers did a heck of a job keeping us in games and giving our guys opportunities to win games late. So, credit to those guys for everything they did.
And one of the anchors of the lineup, MVP Ben Rice. He's a great kid. We've had him on this podcast. Obviously, given the uncertainty of his season being at Dartmouth in the Ivy League, I'm sure this summer was huge for him. But what was it like watching him and seeing his leadership in the dugout?
Yeah, Ben's awesome. I mean, he came to us in 2019 on the championship team. And, early on, I didn't really know what to expect. We had kind of a 3-man rotation going, a catcher. And, as that summer progressed, Ben obviously became the guy that needed to be playing 6 times a week. And so whether he was behind the plate or DHing, he was in the lineup, and it sort of exploded the second half of 2019. So coming into 2020, he was, one of the guys that was a late addition. We didn't expect to have him. And, he reached out to me, I think, in the springtime once his season got canceled. And, once the Cape and the NECBL canceled their seasons, was kind of trying to find a way to get him back on the roster and give him an opportunity to compete. And, we were able to work things out once we sort of went to more of a local roster where Ben was willing to commute every day, which was, a lot of people didn't know about, what he was doing every day, going back and forth. I think he was driving like over an hour to get to the field. But to get him back, to be able to plug his name in the middle of the lineup every night was awesome. And Ben's a kid, again, that, he doesn't need motivation. He's going to show up every day. He's a professional and, does what he needs to do to prepare for games. And, we had that conversation the very first day of the summer where it's like, hey, Ben, you're going to be playing every single day. And, I'm not going to burn you out and make you catch double headers or anything like that. But if, you're going to catch every other day and you're going to DH when you're not catching, and, you're going to be in the middle of the lineup. And, a lot was expected out of him, but he carried us for a lot of that season. I think, once Matt Shaw showed up and started kind of hitting the ball at Ballpark too, it maybe lightened the load for Ben a little bit, but, Ben did a lot to carry us for the last 2 years. And like you said, Matt, just a phenomenal kid. Love being around him. He's just a contagious personality. The young guys look up to him. Super smart kid, going to be really successful in life.
Yeah, just a quick note, Ben's a Cohasset kid. I'm from the town over. Can confirm it is a very long drive to Worcester or Leominster. So shout out to him for doing that.
Yeah, every day. So, it's just, he's impressive to watch.
Yeah, when you're the only show in town and you got that drive, you got to do what you got to do to make it happen. So all the credit to him. And one thing that's unique about a league like the Futures League is your ability to sign guys mid-season and have them make an immediate impact. You want to talk about someone who did that? Matt Shaw. You guys signed him on the last possible day. He ends up finishing in second in the league with 8 home runs in only 11 games. Just a crazy stat line. Helped you guys out in the championship series. What can you say about his skill set, that late season addition, and what he brought to the team, and maybe, what he could do at Maryland down at school?
Yeah, Matt's a freak. I mean, so just like a little story, we signed him. I had heard about Matt, and I know he was playing Legion ball. Dave Peterson went out and saw him play out in Sturbridge and took some video of him. Took 2 videos of him, I think. One was a home run. He sent me the video. And I mean, you can only tell so much from a short clip, but we made the decision to sign him. The first day Matt was with us was the Brockton game that we played on Nesson. So I think on the bus ride down there, Matt sat with me in the front seat. We had a conversation just kind of about what the expectation was going to be for the final few weeks of the season. And, what a great opportunity it would be for him to play with older guys and sort of get him ready for the fall. And, I had basically said to him, hey, I'm going to play you the following, or the next day was going to be a doubleheader against Westfield, I think. And I was like, hey, I'm going to play you the first game, and then, we'll kind of see how things go, but don't expect to be in there every day. So we go to Brockton, they run the 60 or whatever. And then the guys are going to hit in front of the scouts, and the first ball that Matt sees, he hits over the fence to right center field. And I looked over at Adam Chase, our hitting coach, and I was like, this kid might be playing every day. And go to Westfield the next day, first pitch of the game, he hits over the left field fence. And, for the next, whatever it was, 2.5 weeks, he did what he did. But, he's just an explosive player, but fit perfectly in our organization. I mean, everything that I talked about earlier as far as respect and work ethic, he's certainly a confident kid. He understands what he can do and the ability that he has. And he's worked really hard to get to that point. But super humble, just sort of showed up every single day and did whatever I asked him to do, whether it was play center field, play left field, play second base. He didn't care. He wanted to compete. He loves to hit, and he's really good at it. I think Maryland got a heck of a baseball player who's going to be a pro eventually, and he's probably going to play the game for a long time.
Yeah, definitely need a player like that who's a jackknife and you can just plug and place wherever. That's huge for team success, especially getting into the dog days. So curious about your strategy in terms of managing players, getting in touch with college coaches. A guy like Shaw, he hasn't competed at the college level. He's kind of using this summer to get his feet under him. But how much communication do you have with coaches, with them telling you, hey, we're not totally satisfied with the usage. Give me feedback on this player's performance. How is that relationship like for you?
Yeah, I think that starts as soon as the prior season ends. I mean, as soon as we lost to Nashville, I think the next day it might have even been before the last game of the championship, we're beginning that process of putting, the next summer's team together. And I think that's just an ongoing process or a never ending process really of communicating with college coaches and trying to build strong relationships with them. And, one thing that I've been trying to do sort of each year is add a new school. That's obviously we're not going to be able to do that forever, but the more schools we can kind of get in contact with and build relationships, I think, the more opportunity we have to find, the right 35 guys to go out and compete. Plays a huge part in what we just talked about with having to add guys, whether it's in the middle of the summer or right towards, when we're getting down to the home stretch. Like if we have positive relationships with those schools and they know exactly what they're going to get out of the Worcester Bravehearts and that they're going to send, in a case like Matt Shaw, they're going to send a young guy who hasn't been on campus yet to go compete and get an opportunity to experience a playoff run and, be in the clubhouse with the older guys, they're going to do that. And I think as far as your question with how I use guys throughout the summer, that's something that we try to handle in the fall when we're putting the team together so that once I get to June and July and in August, there are no questions about how I'm going to use a player. So, those conversations start with me and the college coach and what their expectation is for that player in the spring and then how I would use them in the summer. Position players are a lot easier than the arms. I mean, my guys are going to play every other day at least, up until the All-Star break. So they're all going to get fairly equal opportunity for the first half of the summer. And then, post All-Star break, most of that is earned. Playoff picture, same thing, that's earned. We're going to put the best 9 out there to compete. But our arms, I had mentioned earlier, Tyler Kelly, my pitching coach, one of his responsibilities throughout the spring is to be checking in with college coaches. And, if we start seeing that, that number in the innings column going up for, a guy that we had kind of slated as a starter, that's going to be a conversation that we make sure we have in the spring before that guy gets here. So if we only have 25 innings for Angelo Baez, we know that before he gets here. If we know a guy's not going to get shut down and we can push him, we know how to manage that. So it's just constant communication and making sure that, our organization and the respective schools are all on the same page.
Yeah. And going back before you were even manager, when you were introduced, the Bravehearts made a note in their introductory article about how you in 2018 raised Mariano Ricciardi's average from 248 to 298. What is your relationship like with him? And what was it like having him back in the clubhouse for a 4th year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I raised Mariano's average. Mariano, he's a hard worker and he, he puts in a lot of time in the off season and he had a special summer that year and did it again in 2019. He's a great baseball player, but on a personal level, my relationship with Mariano has grown over the last, again, 3.5 years, meeting him in 2018. And, I will say that was a really special summer for me because, being the hitting coach and not having to deal with all the things that JP was taking care of at that time, I just got to focus on our position players and working with them every day. Mariano was a guy that needed to be in the cage every single day. So I got to spend a lot of time one-on-one with him and work through what he needed to do to get ready to play a game. And, those numbers don't happen by accident. He spent a lot of time in the cages in the morning, early afternoon before guys got there, so that he could go out at 7:00 and put up those numbers. But great kid. Obviously, we've talked about leadership and Ben Rice and other guys, Baez, Chav, guys who have been on the team for a number of years. No one's been around longer than Ano. So to have him, obviously he got hurt this summer and wasn't able to play and compete for the whole year, but was still around and, having his experience and his leadership and, him being able to just communicate with guys and, be in the dugout for home games is an important part to our success. So, I have a great relationship with Ano and, another really good baseball player that's going to have a bright future in the game.
Before we return to our interview with Alex Dion, once again, we wanted to give a big shout out and thanks to Changeup, one of the FCBL's cornerstone sponsors. Changeup is a cutting-edge, player-centric pitch and performance management application. By comprehensively and accurately tracking pitch activity and capturing critical in-game performance data, Changeup helps baseball coaches protect their pitchers from overuse and helps players reach their full potential safely. During the 2020 season, FCBL teams reap the benefits of the Changeup application, including the ability to keep college coaches informed on what and how their players are doing here in the FCBL. Coaches and parents at all levels, Little League, AAU, high school, and the collegiate level take notice. Changeup is the clear choice to ensure your pitchers aren't being thrown too much or too often and are getting proper rest. In addition, Changeup's analytics function helps coaches and players understand each pitcher's current performance thresholds and helps inform training protocols to get your players to the next level. The Futures League is bringing you tomorrow's baseball superstars today. Changeup is helping make sure those superstars travel safely and as far as possible on their personal baseball journeys. Are you ready to join the Changeup revolution? For more information, visit Changeup's website, www.changeup.io. That's www.change-up.io. Changeup. Every pitch counts. We now return to our interview with Alex Dion. So transitioning to the other part of your coaching career, you are the head baseball coach for Milford High School. How has that experience been coaching in a huge baseball town and being the first coach not from Milford?
It's been a really humbling experience. I mean, a great experience for me. I mentioned earlier, Rich Pierre Gustavo, who's the longtime Milford Legion coach. He hired me, reached out to me back in 2012, and I started as a substitute teacher and coaching freshman football, and then met Paul Pellegrini, who was the head coach before me. He coached Milford baseball for 14 years. I was lucky enough to be his assistant coach for 4 years, and then when Pele retired, again got hired as the head coach. But Milford's just an unbelievable town. Incredible baseball history. I've been so lucky to, have an assistant coach like Mike Reed, who grew up in Milford and, played for the Scarlet Hawks and was a former head coach at Clark University, former head coach at Babson. But guys like Richie, guys like Mike, JP Pine, Paul Pellegrini, Steve Manguso, like just guys who have been Milford guys forever, that I've been really fortunate enough to develop relationships with and that they've welcomed me in. I mean, Milford's like a second home now, and it's a place where I plan on spending the rest of my career. So really lucky to coach in a town that still cares and values athletics so much. Just a great group of kids. I mean, the seniors that I had last year when the season got cut short, it was a group of guys that when I took over, two of those guys, Kobe Perez and Luke Rosa, who are, now off at college, I had them as sophomores, and it was like one of those conversations where it's like, hey, this is year one for me. It's year one for you guys. Like, we're going to kind of build this thing around you for the next 3 years. And, their sophomore year, we were 5-15. Their junior year, we went 11-11 and won a playoff game. That whole group, not just Kobe and Luke, but the other 5 guys in that class were really looking forward to, going out next spring and the possibilities that, we could have gone out and competed for whatever it might have been, whether it's a league championship or hopefully beyond that. So to see that get cut short was really disappointing, but I absolutely love what I do and feel so lucky to be able to coach high school baseball and then, get my fix of the college game in the summer with the Bravehearts. Again, just really fortunate to be able to do both.
Two-sided question here. Do you know the status of your upcoming spring season? And, it's not college where guys can go and get a master's degree or apply for a fifth year. That's it. And it's a lot of kids that have grown up together playing. What was it like delivering that message? And have you stayed in touch with them to try to coach them through emotions that they're feeling, transitioning to college in a wild year for kids graduating?
Yeah, just and for some of those guys, I had mentioned Kobe and Luke, but some of those guys, grow up their whole life playing little league in Milford, going to middle school, finally getting to high school and, play freshman baseball, play JV baseball, finally make the varsity team as a junior, but maybe don't play. And, that senior year is something that those guys look forward to for, since the day they picked up a bat and a ball, and for that to get shut down and for them to not have an opportunity to go out and compete for maybe the only time that they're going to really be able to compete. And for, in high school, playing for your town, playing for your best friends, like all the things that make high school baseball special. It was tough to watch. And there's not really much that you could say that's going to make an 18-year-old feel better about that situation. But myself and Mike Reed and Ryan Bowen, my other assistant, we would have Zoom meetings with our guys early on when we were first sent home from school, and like tryout week, we have a Zoom meeting. We're going over, same thing, philosophy, what the season's going to look like, what expectations are, what they should be doing at home to stay in shape and get ready for the season. Then you go 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 1 month, and you're still trying to find ways to be positive with those guys. But once the news finally breaks that they're not going to get that opportunity at all, then it's really just sort of you just feel for them, and it's about making sure that relationship can continue, right, and that it doesn't just get cut off at that point, because I think that's where we would be failing as coaches if we did that. And just because they didn't get an opportunity to compete doesn't mean that everything that they did in their 4 years there didn't mean something. So I've talked to all 7 of my seniors from last year, and they're all doing great. It's, a team that I'll certainly always remember, that I had hoped that we would have been able to compete together for one more year. But, now it'll just be alumni events and hopefully having them back and, being able to recognize them at some point. As far as this spring's concerned, it's crazy to think that we're still, I would have thought last year when we got sent home and that season was canceled, it's like, all right, well, at least next spring, we'll have an opportunity to go out and compete. And, we're still going to get to play baseball, it seems like, but we're not playing our 20-game schedule. The details of the whole schedule for our league aren't completely finalized, but it seems like we're going to play 10 games in the regular season against our 5 other league opponents and kind of scratch our non-league games. And then I still kind of postseason stuff is still up in the air. I don't think there's going to be any state tournament, but we might do a kind of a crossover thing within our league if that's deemed safe at that point to do that type of thing.
Yeah, it's tough, especially considering everything leads up to the postseason. I know that last year it was at the winter postseason event, at least in Connecticut, that things got cut off, and it's like the big finishing point of a lot of these kids' careers gets cut. So, I'm hoping stuff at least goes according to plan. Who knows? Would you ever consider bringing a kid from the Milford pipeline into the Bravehearts, kid who goes on to play college ball?
We had one.
Really?
Aiden Wild played for me for 4 years in high school. And the first 3, I was still the assistant coach. His senior year was my first year as the head coach. So, Aiden was a 3-year captain at Milford High School for the baseball team. really great high school career, had 100 hits in baseball, scored 100 goals in hockey. So pretty good athlete. He hit with me throughout his high school career. So we were able to form a really good relationship. And then he went to play at Stonehill, and we signed him. So he was on the 2019 championship team, and then he came back last summer. So the Milford guy. We also had Jonathan Rice. He's a Hopedale guy. So he never played for me, but another local guy from that area. But yeah, I mean, Aiden was a special story. We talk about it all the time. We sat together on the bus ride home after the championship game and just kind of like look back at what a unique opportunity that was to, I don't think I'll ever, I mean, who knows? It's something that I don't think will ever happen again, to coach a guy for 4 years in high school and then, have an opportunity to coach him for another 2 years at a different level. So, something that was really special, and, we can look back on one day together.
Yeah. What an awesome story. So another question about Milford here. So we looked at your LinkedIn. We tried to look and see what you do in the classroom. You were a substitute teacher. Are you teaching on a regular basis now, or what were you like as a substitute teacher? What's it like being in the classroom with these kids?
I subbed for about 6 months, probably back in 2012. I didn't even know I still had a LinkedIn. So thanks for that. I might want to go update that. So I was a substitute teacher for like 6 months. Then I got hired as a behavioral aide in the pre-voc program. I did that for like a year and a half. My undergrad degree was in business management. I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. So I wasn't a certified teacher at the time. So I had to take, that first like year and a half to take the MTELs and get certified to teach in Massachusetts. And once I did that, I was hired as a practical arts teacher. So I think this is my 7th year as a full-time teacher at the high school. 7th year full-time teacher, 9th year overall. So I work in the practical arts department. I teach a bunch of different classes. I teach sports marketing. I run our banking and business program for juniors and seniors, which is a pretty cool opportunity. They have a chance as seniors to go out and do a field study with some local companies in Milford, and then teach a senior seminar course, which is more of post-secondary planning, life skills, financial literacy skills, and a business principles class. So a little bit of everything. But I love, the same thing as coaching, like it's just an opportunity to be around, students and kind of form those relationships and, just try to make the best of their high school experience.
Can I hire you on the side as to let me know why my bank account is going in the red lately?
I don't know if I'm the best guy for that.
All right. Fair enough. Thought I'd ask. Could use all the help I can get.
Call Getty. He'll help you out.
All right.
That's really cool, though, that you have the chance to teach those type of things in high school, because I know at our high school we don't have that. So
that was one of the biggest things. When I was first hired, we didn't really have, any curriculum as far as like your life skills, like how do I file taxes? What are my student loans going to look like once I get out of here? What's rent versus mortgage? All that type of stuff. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Quick shameless plug here. This is on my reading list right now. So
Yeah.
You're getting the kids a head start.
I know I might have to zoom into your class. Half the stuff you just said was like, okay. All right. So continuing on to talking about your coaching career, you've also coached Team Mizuno Northeast in 2014 and 2015. What was it like coaching travel baseball and helping kids get ready to be competitive in high school and college?
Yeah, I think that was probably something that I needed to do in my career. I had played for Mike Masserino for the Northborough Legion team when I was in high school. So that was sort of an obvious kind of move to make when I first got into coaching, was to coach there. And I loved my experience in Legion, but kind of making the move over to the showcase game and getting exposed to that and going to different parts of the country and, really working with all players that, wanted to go play at the next level was a really good experience. And then, the other part of that, like obviously in the summer we're traveling, we're going to Georgia and Florida and New York and, playing all over different part of the country every single weekend. Like the other part of that is, November, December, January, February, and, just being in a cage for 35, 40 hours a week, working with different guys. That was an experience that, there's times now where I miss it a little bit. But just having to give lessons like nonstop throughout the week, work with different age kids. That was really, a 3-year period where I was able to learn a lot about myself as a coach and kind of start to understand how to teach hitting, really. And I was just doing it on the fly. I mean, every kid was different, and I realized that I couldn't cookie cut everything. And, if I was going to give or spend that much time in a cage each week with, however many different players, I really needed to learn about the game and how I was going to teach it. So, that's a period of my coaching career that I'm super thankful for now.
So I'm guessing a lot of those kids were dedicating 10 to 12 months out of the year to play baseball. You played multiple sports growing up, baseball and football primarily. We saw an article where you said you want your kids to be multi-sport athletes. How important do you think it is for kids to compete in more than one sport, especially developmentally growing up while they're still getting used to their bodies and, maturing, and not just play one year round?
I mean, it's really important. Something we talk about, myself and Paul Seaver, our basketball coach, and Dale Olson, our football coach at the high school. It's a topic that we're constantly talking about, and, not wanting our guys to specialize in one sport. At the high school level, the way I see it is I want my guys playing football or whatever they want to do in the fall, playing basketball or doing indoor track or wrestling or whatever it might be in the winter, and then coming to play for me in the spring. And then whatever, their sport is, whatever their favorite one of those three is, go do that in the summer, right? Go either train for that, or if you can play summer baseball, or you can go to 7-on-7 camps for football or play AAU basketball, whatever your number one sport is, go do that in the summer. But you should be playing, 3 seasons while, you have the chance to do that, because everything that my guys are doing in basketball right now, footwork wise, conditioning wise, is going to help them on the baseball field, right? Everything that they're doing in football, whether it's the weight room during the summer or competing during the fall, is going to get them bigger and faster and stronger, and is only going to help them in the spring when they get to me. But especially from a young age, I mean, I don't see the point in specializing in one sport when you're 10, 11, 12 years old. It makes no sense to me. And the biggest thing that you're going to get out of playing multiple sports is the competitive nature, right? Is going out and figuring out how to work in a team setting, right? Setting goals for yourself, trying to get better, trying to win. And the more you do that, I think the more that's going to translate. It's going to, especially at the high school level, it's going to have an effect on the whole culture of your school. If we can have some success in baseball, and, maybe that carries over to next fall, and, Coach Olson does a great job with our football guys. They can compete there and win there. And I think it's just, it just builds the entire culture of your school, and it becomes expected. So, if you're sitting on your couch for 8 months out of the year and you go compete for one season, I gotta imagine it's a little bit harder to kind of flip that switch on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you never think about that, stuff that you learn in basketball and football could help out in baseball or whatever else it is. So for sure. And before we get to our final segment, how about a message to Bravehearts fans as we inch a little bit closer to the season?
I'm just excited to get back to Holy Cross. Excited. We have the best fan base in the league, one of the best in the country. And they show up every single night for us. So it'll be exciting to get back to Holy Cross and, hopefully have some fans in the seats supporting us.
Yeah, I think if we played through 2020, if stuff just kind of hopefully gets a little bit better, would love to see fans back at Hanover. That would be awesome. So we got our fingers crossed. So as Owen mentioned, we're moving on to our final segment. It's called Quick Hits, presented by Zephyr, the official on-field hat of the Futures League. Zephyr, high quality and innovative design since 1993. So we got a couple more questions for you for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. Is that cool with you?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Favorite player that you've coached from your tenure in the Futures League? Yeah, we're putting the heat on early.
Favorite player? Angelo Baez.
We've seen it. Tell the audience why, if you could expand on that a little bit.
Just the I mean, we have a special relationship with him. I love all the guys I've coached, and I mean that. I was fortunate enough to have Angelo for 3 summers, right? And like the first summer, didn't get to know him as well as I did for 2019 and 2020. He was out of the bullpen. I don't even know how many innings he threw that year. But coming back in 2019, the summer he had, the things he did for us, and just really getting to know him on a personal level. Obviously, the size doesn't help him, but for him to go out and win, pitcher of the year that year, and the way that he competes every single day and works on his craft, and I just love the way that he goes out and does that stuff. And then just the off the field part of it, how well we get along, and again, the relationship that we've been able to build over the last 3 years. He's a guy that makes you laugh every day, and you just want to be around. So that's a relationship that, again, we still talk to this day. We'll talk, every now and then on the phone and catch up, like I do with a lot of my guys. But if I had to answer, I guess I'd say Angelo.
Okay. A term that I've heard to describe him as a bulldog on the mound. I feel like that fits him perfectly. And he was our second guest on this series. So shout out to him for coming on when we were still kind of getting our legs. And he said he was working on magic tricks in the early stages of quarantine. So we brought a deck of cards to the bullpen. You could just kind of see the energy in the bullpen with Johnny West, Chidoba, Shav around him. So awesome kid. Awesome kid. All right. Now, how about a favorite ballpark that you've either attended as a fan or played in?
I'd say as a kid. So growing up as a kid, my parents would bring us like all different big league ballparks each summer. It was our family vacation every year. And I was fortunate to go to, I've been to quite a few of them. But one of the coolest experiences I had was staying in the hotel in center field up in Toronto. So we got to go there, stayed over there for 2 nights, saw a game, and actually got to watch them. I think the night that we got in there was some type of event before, whether it was a concert or whatever. So we got to, me and my brother got to stay up and watch them kind of turn the facility over from whatever they had before, get the stage off, to laying out the turf, which was like that thin and just concrete underneath it at the time. So that was probably a pretty cool experience. But just traveling to all the ballparks when I was younger, growing up with my mom and dad and brother was some experiences that I won't forget. Went to the old Synergy Field in Cincinnati when Griffey came back from one of his injuries. He was probably my favorite player growing up. He had just come back off, I don't know if it was a knee injury or a hamstring or whatever. But we got to see him come back and play, and that was something I had always wanted to do. So that was pretty cool too.
That's incredible. How about a baseball stadium, or more broadly, a sporting event that's on your bucket list?
Super Bowl, probably. Never been, but it's something I would probably, if I had to pick one, I'd want to go see a Super Bowl.
Okay. Good answer. Sore subject for me. Good answer.
Yeah.
How about walk-up music? Or if you were, if something you had during your playing days, something you'd put on now, what would you be walking out to?
I hate walk-up music. So we tried it in high school baseball, and my high school guys know how I feel about it. But at least in the college game in the summer, the guys for the most part get it right. And I think it's when you're playing this many games, it's something that kind of, I know the guys love it and motivates them. For me, I'm not a huge music guy, so it could be anything. It depends what time of the year it is.
Sure. Is it like old man yells at cloud, like just not a fan of the kids' taste in music, or just takes away from the atmosphere? What is it?
It's it was definitely that in high school baseball, because there's like 4 people in the stands watching the game, and it's like someone's girlfriend playing it on their iPhone. So it was a lot in high school. I shut that down pretty quick. But again, in the summer and with college guys, I think it's something that's necessary, and they obviously, they like it. If they're struggling, then you hear the walk-up song change and whatever, but it's a part of the game, and it's fun.
Yeah. I was on the Westfield playlist in 2019. I wish I had known that in hindsight for when the visitors took their BP to really try to play some head games. I'm sure it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So you alluded to it earlier about favorite player, but if you could offer favorite big league team and favorite player, you said Griffey's historical, but how about a current player in the game?
Oh, current player in the game. Griffey was definitely my favorite growing up. I would say him or Roberto Alomar. Favorite player currently in the game. I watched when quarantine started, Trevor Bauer started doing this like series online where he kind of like took you around his day and sort of showed you like what a day in the life of Trevor Bauer was. And I kind of liked, I know people on Trevor Bauer are probably on opposite spectrums. You either love him or you hate him, but I kind of started to like him a lot and followed him and watched his video series. So I guess I'll go with Bauer.
Okay. And I'm sure as someone who tries to like verse kids in business, it's neat to see his own personal branding. I forget the name of it, but like has really done a lot to try to get his personal brand out there, especially when he's trying to secure a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah. He's super entertaining. I mean, obviously what he does on the field speaks for itself. So it's fun to follow.
Yeah. And quick note here before I kick it to Owen, you want to talk about Griffey, our guest earlier in the summer, Ray Fagnan, scout for the Red Sox, who's around the league. He said he got to be the catcher for that derby and watched McGuire and Sosa and Griffey. So he said if you're watching MLB Network at like 2 a.m, he'll sometimes put it on to watch himself.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And then how about a nickname either in baseball or in general you've been given over the years?
Nickname. I mean, everyone calls me Dion, I would say, but high school guys, all my college players in the summer. Skip has sort of taken on its own. I think that's sort of like your classic like manager's nickname, but started as a joke back in 2019 when Chase and Tyler Kelly, my 2 assistants, started calling me it, and then it just sort of caught on. So a lot of it's either Dion or Skip it throughout the whole summer.
Awesome. And then are you superstitious at all?
I wouldn't really say I'm superstitious. I mean, I think it's probably a super boring answer, but I think I prepare the same way every day. So if you want to call that superstitious, you can. I think I have a routine that makes me feel like comfortable and gets me ready to go out for a game, but I don't think superstitious is the right word.
Yeah, you're not alone there. Routine has definitely been the theme of season 2. Everybody has the same way of getting prepared.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. And then bubblegum or sunflower seeds?
Sunflower seeds, dill pickle.
Let's go. Another one in the club. Dill pickle seeds. I don't have any on my desk to show, but
You're
big
slacking.
fan. I know I am slacking today. And then how about favorite ballpark food and favorite ballpark beer?
Ballpark food, I'll go with your standard hot dog. Ballpark beer, anything under $10.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, how about a favorite all-time baseball memory?
I'd say in my adult life is winning the 2019 championship. People always ask, I think I actually skipped one of your questions. I'm a Red Sox fan since I was a little kid. But like people say, what's your favorite team? Like my favorite team is Milford High School and the Worcester Bravehearts. And like, I genuinely mean that. So I'd say my favorite memory is winning the 2019 championship.
Absolutely. And hopefully that you can bring more of that championship magic, but I guess you never forget your first. So, a little different than the co-championship in 18, and that was your squad. So I'm sure memories you'll never forget from that summer.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex, Dion, Skip, whatever you want to call them, thank you so much for joining us today. Best of luck with everything. We're so excited to see the Bravehearts back in action, hopefully at Hanover Insurance Park next summer.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. So this has been episode 8 of season 2 of Back to the Futures, the official podcast of the Futures Collegiate Baseball League. We have new episodes coming out every Monday. Make sure to subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see everyone soon.